One of the next things you need to make sure that you do with your students and do well and constantly remind them of is really just teaching them about those key terms that NESA provide to us. So know the difference between describe, analyze, explain, discuss, and all those different verbs they're going to be asked to do in exams, and understanding where, how, and why, and the common terms fit in with this is really useful for your students as they're getting ready for their exams. So you need to have some kind of system to help them with that. Now I have this system, it's going to come up just now, and you can see here in this system that I've actually categorized these verbs into 4 different areas. So identify and describe and what are basically all together, because they're all very similar in terms of talking about characteristics and features, just at different levels. You then go to the right, we have discuss, debate, compare, and argue, which are all again very similar, because this is about providing points for and against, or comparing things, just having those 2 different sides that are being joined. If we go down, we have explain, analyze, why, and how are all together there, because here we're talking about how things actually relate to each other, whether it's a cause and effect or some other type of relationship. It's still a relationship-based answer that your students need to provide. And then on the right here at the bottom, assess, evaluate, judge, justify, and to what extent. So these all use criteria to determine the value of something. So they're all using some kind of system to determine whether or not this is actually working. And then if I go right to the top here, you can see I've got critically up here all on its own, because it's about adding depth, using logic, questioning stuff, making sure that actually talking about whether or not this is really good or not, what evidence is there for this, etc. And so, yeah, you could use that kind of system, and when you come to my workshop, you'll have a chance to win one of these posters if you like, and if not, you'll get access to the images anyway to be able to print out or send to be printed as posters for your school, stick up in your classroom to help your students learn it. Maybe you might even print a bunch of small ones on maybe A3 for your students and have them pin it up at home so that they can quickly go over that and learn it and remember. And being able to categorize and chunk that information like that is really going to help them, because that's how your brain works. We like to chunk things together that relate to each other. And if you can do that, it actually means they're only really learning 3 different types of verbs, and then how they then apply that. And they can generally choose how they apply that based on the number of marks that's allocated to that question as well. So if a question is worth 12 marks, then it should be critical regardless of whether or not it asks you to be critical, right? If it's worth 8 marks, then it's probably going to be in that kind of analyze, kind of making a judgment type call, and having criteria. If you're looking below that, then it might be explain, it might be a describe, depending on how big the content is they're going over. But that's how I do it with my students, making sure that there's 4 different sections so that they are better equipped to be able to categorize even the common terms into these different sections.